Welcome back to another lesson. Today we're going to be learning about double consonants and strong consonants in Hangul. And this is the first one that we're going to be learning. Notice that it looks a lot like our very first consonant that we learned, only two of them. In fact, that's the way that you're going to write all of these double consonants. The stroke order is simply draw one of them, draw the next one, from left to right, just like before. When you're drawing these, make sure they don't take up double the space of a regular letter. It's just the same letter drawn twice, but in the same space as one. So how are these different then than what we already learned? Well, let's put it into a syllable and see. Ga, ga, ga. Double consonants, and there are only a few of these we have to learn, are pronounced the same way as their regular forms, but by tensing the mouth a little bit before saying them. So I'll pronounce the first one followed by the new double consonant version. Ka, ga, ka, ga, ka, ga, ka, ga. You can hear that there's more tense in the double consonant version, although the overall pronunciation is the same. Now, this might sound very similar to your ears, but trust me, it is very different in Korean, and we'll talk about how that can be really important in a bit. But here's our next double consonant. So, to hear what this double consonant sounds like, let's add the vowel a and then compare it to the regular consonant that we learned before. So originally we had ta, ta, ta. And now with the double consonant we have da, da, da. Again, with a regular consonant we had ta. Now we have da, ta, da, ta, da. Practice it on your own a few times. Ta, da. All of the double consonants are made in the same way by adding tensing to the regular version. Here is our next double consonant. It looks just like the one we did before, but with two of them. And let's attach the vowel a and hear what it sounds like. So before we had pa, pa, pa. And now we have ba, 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 pa, ba, pa, ba, pa, ba. Notice the difference in tense. Practice this on your own a few times. Pa, ba, pa, ba, pa, ba. And this is our next double consonant. So let's add our vowel a and listen to it. Before we had sa, now we have sa. Sa. Let's compare. Sa, 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 sa. It's kind of like a double S. Sa, 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 sa. Before we had sa, and now we have sa. Sa, sa. And here is the next double consonant that we have, and also our last one. This one is a double version of, well, let's listen to it. Before we had cha, now we have ja. Cha, ja, cha, ja. Practice this by yourself as well. Cha, ja, cha, ja. So now let me give you some tips for how you can pronounce these. First of all, it's easier to practice double consonants inside of actual words than it is to just try practicing them on their own as we've been doing. So, for an example, practice saying aga and aka instead of just practicing ka and ga. Let's do that one more time. Aga, aga. And now, aka, aka. Again, aga, aka, aga, aka. Now let me give you a tip for how you can practice these sounds on your own. Hold up a piece of tissue paper. Practice by saying the regular consonant first. So let's use ka as an example. Ka, ka. Notice how the tissue paper slightly moves. Ka, ka. However, when using double consonants, the tissue paper will not noticeably move. Now, I actually have the air conditioner on here, so it might still slightly move, but when you compare it with the regular consonant, the double consonants will not have much movement at all due to the tensing that you're giving your breath. Ga, ga. Back to our regular consonant, ka, ka, ka. And again, back to our double consonant. Ga, ga, ga. This is just one way to help you tell whether you're pronouncing it correctly or not. So let's do some practicing with these sounds. Ki, ki, tal, dal, pang, bang, sal, sal, chan, jan. One more time. Ki, ki, tal, dal, pang, bang, sal, sal, chan, jan. We've just finished learning about double consonants. Next, we have to learn about a few strong consonants. Now, these ones are also relative to regular consonants that we've already learned, but their sound is going to be much stronger. Here is our first one. It's made very similarly to a previous letter that we learned, in fact, our very first consonant. And the way you write it is you make one stroke going from the left to the right and down, followed by a second stroke that goes left to the right and meets in the middle of the downward part of the first stroke, just like this. So let's put this into a syllable and hear what it sounds like. Ka, ka, ka. It has a much stronger sound than our previous syllable, well, the original first consonant we learned, ka. Now we have ka, ka. And in fact, that's all that strong consonants are, and there are only 4 of them that you have to learn. They're the same thing as their regular versions, just pronounced with more force. So before we had ka. Now we have ka, 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 ka. Here we have our next strong consonant, and it also looks just like one that we did earlier. In fact, the very second consonant that we ever learned. Here is the stroke order for this one. This one has 3 strokes. The first one starts at the top and goes to the right. The second one starts below the first one and also goes to the right. The third one connects with the left sides of the first and the second stroke going down, followed by going to the right. So let's listen to the sound of this one. Ta, ta, ta. And again, ta. Notice how the sound is quite strong. Ta. Now let's go to our next strong consonant. This one doesn't look like any sound that we've done already, But this is the strong version of the previous consonant that we did, which would have been pronounced like pa. Let's look at the stroke order first. This one has 4 strokes. The first one going from the top, from the left to the right, followed by 2 strokes that go down from the first stroke, connecting with the 4th stroke, which also goes left to right, just like the first one. So let's use our vowel ah and hear what it sounds like. Pa, pa, pa. Before, with our regular consonant, we would have pa, but now we have pa, pa. Now let's take a look at our last of the 4 strong consonants. This one looks quite similar to one that we did earlier, but has an additional mark at the top. You just draw 1 mark going on the top, followed by the regular stroke order of the rest of the character. 1 stroke going from the left to the right, followed by 2 more going down to the left and down to the right with a slight curve. So let's add in our vowel ah and hear what it sounds like. Cha, cha, cha. With our regular consonant, we would have had a sound just like cha, but now we have cha, cha. You can hear it has a much stronger CH sound than our previous consonant. Cha, cha. So how do you tell the difference between regular, double, and strong consonants? Well, you can also use the tissue paper trick that I told you about before. Regular consonants will cause the tissue paper to noticeably move a bit. Ka, ka. While double consonants won't noticeably cause it to move. Now, I still have my air conditioner on, but you shouldn't be able to see much movement from my breath. Ga, ga. Strong consonants, however, will cause the tissue paper to noticeably move much more than regular consonants. Ka, ka, ka. Again, regular consonant. Ka. And now strong consonant. Ka. You can see that the strong consonant moves the most and the double consonant moves the least. So now let's do some practice with each of these sounds. Ka, ga, ka. Practice this on your own as well. Ka, ga, ka. And the next one. Ta, da, ta. One more time. Ta, da, ta. Let's do the next one. Pa, ba, pa. And one more time. Pa, ba, pa. And let's do our final strong consonant. Cha, ja, cha. And again. Cha, ja, cha. So now, why is it important to say these sounds differently? Well, the same word, just using a double or a strong consonant, can have an entirely different meaning in Korean. Take these words for example. 불, fire. 불, horns. 불, grass or glue. One more time. 불, 불, 불. Of course, these words will be known by the context of your sentence, but it can cause confusion if you're not saying the right ones. 불, 불, 불. So let's move on to our last practice for this lesson. Try reading these sounds on your own first. You can pause the video here. 갈비, 공짜, 친구, 진짜, 꽁트, 따르다, 티나, 바나나, 빨래, 핸드폰, 칩, 핑크, 쓰다, 순대. One more time. 갈비, 공짜, 친구, 진짜, 꽁트, 따르다, 티나, 바나나, 빨래, 핸드폰, 칩, 핑크, 쓰다, 순대. So, in this lesson, we learned all about the consonants, including strong consonants and double consonants. Next lesson, we're going to be learning about diphthongs. So, I'll see you guys there. 그럼 다음에 또 봐!